You're not done yet. Don't you dare believe that lie. You're not too old. You're not irrelevant. You're not finished. The world may try to convince you that your best days are behind you, but here's the truth, your best wisdom, your deepest strength, and your clearest vision are just now ripening. You're not fading, you're forging. You're not withering, you're becoming more refined. Look back, yes. But only to gather the firewood of experience so you can build a bonfire of meaning in your final chapters. You've survived storms most men wouldn't even dare to walk into. You've seen love, betrayal, gain, loss. And you're still standing. So stand tall. It's not the young lions who know how to protect the pride, it's the scarred ones. It's not the loudest that deserve attention, it's the ones who speak with the gravity of earned silence. If you're still breathing, God's not done. If you still wake up with a thought in your mind and a beat in your heart, your purpose is alive. Be the wise mentor. Be the unshakable grandfather. Be the old warrior who still trains, still sharpens his blade, not to fight, but to teach others how to. There's a whole generation of lost boys out here starving for a compass, and you hold it in your heart. This isn't the end, it's the second wind. So walk like a man who remembers who he is. Talk like a man who's earned every wrinkle. And live like a man who knows he still matters. You wake up, the joints ache a little more than they used to. Your reflection in the mirror stares back with lines etched by time, battles fought, hearts broken, victories won, and years lived. Maybe the hair is thinner, the posture not quite as straight, the phone doesn't ring like it used to, and the world feels like it's moving faster than ever before. And in quiet moments, a dangerous thought creeps in, maybe I've done my part. Maybe I'm finished. Maybe I've become invisible. But let me tell you the truth. That voice is lying to you. Your purpose isn't over, not even close. You see, we live in a world that worships youth and speed, that shouts loudest for the ones with smooth skin and quick tongues. But what this world often forgets is that strength doesn't always look like muscles or speed. Sometimes it looks like patience. Sometimes it looks like a man who's seen enough to know when to speak and when to remain silent. It looks like a man who has walked through fire, not once, but over and over, and still knows how to smile, still knows how to love, still knows how to stand. Purpose doesn't retire. It doesn't have an expiration date. The soul doesn't know age, it only knows drive, mission, calling. You might not be climbing ladders or chasing after promotions anymore, but that doesn't mean you've stopped climbing. Now, you're scaling something greater. Now, you're reaching for something deeper. The world doesn't need another fast runner, it needs a steady hand. It needs a calm voice. It needs a man who has lived long enough to know what matters. You are not just an older man. You are a living archive. You've seen generations rise and fall. You've seen technologies born and buried. You've seen promises kept and broken. And every single one of those experiences has sharpened something inside of you that no textbook or TED Talk can replicate. Perspective. That's priceless. And that's exactly what the world is starving for. Don't confuse stillness with uselessness. The tree that no longer grows taller still gives shade. The river that slows still nourishes the soil. And the man who no longer runs at full speed can still point the way for those who do. You've reached a point now where you carry something no young man can claim, weight. Real weight. And when a man with weight speaks, people lean in. They listen. Because you don't talk just to talk. You've learned the value of words, the power of silence, and the impact of presence. That alone makes you rare in a world full of noise. Your purpose might not look like it used to. Maybe you're not building businesses anymore. Maybe you're not lifting weights or leading teams. But maybe now, your purpose is to build men. To lift spirits. To lead by the example of your endurance, your loyalty, your grit. Maybe your purpose is in the quiet conversation with your grandson, the hard truth you share with a younger man at work, the gentle strength you show your partner when the world gets loud. Maybe it's in the stories you tell, the legacy you live, the eyes you meet and say without saying, I've been there, and you will make it through too. Don't you dare believe the myth that life has passed you by. Life doesn't pass men like you by, it waits for you to catch up and lead again. You've already proven you're a survivor. Now it's time to prove you're a teacher. A guide. A father to more than just your own kids. The torch is still in your hands, and there's still plenty of fire left in you to light the path for others. Too many old men shrink themselves when they should be expanding. They let the calendar tell them what they can't do, instead of asking their soul what they must do. You've got a voice that can break chains. You've got eyes that can see through lies. You've got hands that still know how to build, even if what you're building now is character in others, hope in your community, or faith in the next generation. Purpose is not some prize handed to the young. It's a responsibility carried by the seasoned. You're not in the way, you're the way forward. Your mistakes were not in vain. Your regrets are not anchors, they're instructions. You're not finished. You're forged. You are more essential now than ever. So rise with dignity. Walk like the man time tried to break but couldn't. Speak like the man who knows who he is and why he's still here. Don't waste this chapter waiting to fade out. Write in bold letters. Burn with meaning. Love with intention. Lead with gravity. Because your purpose isn't over. It may have just begun. You don't wear your years like a burden, you wear them like armor. Every scar on your body, every line on your face, every ache in your bones tells a story. And each one of those stories adds weight to your presence, depth to your wisdom, and force to your influence. That's the kind of power no one can hand you, it can only be earned through living. Through enduring. Through walking into the storms of life and coming out the other side with your soul still intact. Experience is not just something you collect. It's something that changes you. It shapes how you think, how you move, how you speak. When you've been through real battles. When you've lost people, when you've made mistakes that cost you time, money, or relationships, you stop being impressed by nonsense. You learn to see through people. You learn who's real and who's pretending. You can spot a lie before it's even finished being told. That's power. Not the kind that gets headlines, but the kind that quietly commands respect. You don't get that kind of strength from reading a book or watching a video. You get it from waking up on the worst day of your life and deciding to keep going anyway. From failing and refusing to stay down. From watching your plans fall apart and choosing to rebuild when most men would quit. That's why your experience matters. It proves you're not just someone who talks, you're someone who's lived. And that gives you credibility that can't be faked. A younger man might have energy, but he's often fragile beneath the surface. You've seen enough to know what really breaks a man, and what doesn't. You've loved and lost. You've trusted and been betrayed. You've worked hard and been overlooked. You've stood alone when no one else had the courage. And because of that, you're not easily shaken. You don't panic under pressure. You don't fold under criticism. You've been through worse, and you know you'll get through whatever comes next. That's why people turn to the experienced when things fall apart. When life gets real, they don't want someone who's never been tested, they want someone who's been through hell and kept walking. That's you. That's what makes your presence powerful. Because when you speak, there's a gravity in your words. A weight that only comes from living through what others have only imagined. You've made decisions you regret. Everyone has. But those moments weren't wasted, they were converted into wisdom. That wisdom is your strength now. It's what lets you help a younger man avoid the same trap. It's what helps you walk away from drama instead of running into it. You've learned that not every fight is worth it. You've learned the hard way what matters, and what doesn't. And now, you walk with a clarity that only experience can bring. You remember what it was like to be insecure, impulsive, quick to anger, desperate to prove yourself. But you're not that man anymore. You've evolved. You've been refined. And with every year, you've peeled off layers of ego, distraction, and pride. What's left is something rare, a man who has nothing to prove and everything to teach. There are people out there right now who are lost in storms you've already survived. They're drowning in questions you've already answered. Your experience is not just for you, it's a gift for others. A map. A guide. And you have a responsibility to share it. Because there's a generation growing up with information but no wisdom. They've got access to everything except the lived truth that you carry in your bones. When you walk into a room, you bring decades of insight. You bring perspective. You bring the kind of emotional intelligence that doesn't come from trends or technology, it comes from life. Real life. You've been there when the doctor gave you bad news. You've been there when the bank account was empty. You've been there when love slipped through your fingers. And still, you're here. Still standing. Still fighting. Still giving. That's why your age is not a weakness, it's a weapon. The world may overlook you, but you should never overlook yourself. Because in a world obsessed with speed, you are the anchor. In a world drowning in noise, you are the still voice of reason. In a world that fears aging, you are proof that age is power when it's lived with courage, reflection, and purpose. Let the younger men run their race. That's their season. Yours is different. You don't need to chase. You don't need to impress. You just need to stand tall and own the space your experience has carved out for you. Because when you walk with the weight of what you've survived, you walk with authority. And the world still needs that. Desperately. So don't hide what you've been through. Don't downplay your story. Don't diminish your scars. Because everything you've endured, everything you've learned, everything you've seen, that's not baggage. That's power. Experience is power. And it's yours. There comes a moment in every man's life when he starts to wonder if the world still sees him. The calls come less frequently. The world seems louder, younger, faster. People don't ask for your advice like they used to. Maybe you walk into a room and no one turns their head. And quietly, deep down, you start to ask yourself the dangerous question, do I still matter? But I'm here to tell you right now, without hesitation, you are still needed. Not yesterday. Not back when you were in your prime. Right now. You are not a relic. You are not a shadow. You are a foundation. You are the anchor when others drift. You're the lighthouse when they've lost their way. You are still needed, not because of what you used to do, but because of what you still carry inside you. Wisdom. Steadiness. Perspective. Strength that doesn't scream, but stands. There are things only you can teach, things only you can say, and a presence only you can bring into the lives of the people around you. There's a generation growing up lost in confusion. Boys who never learned how to become men. Young men chasing everything and understanding nothing. They're trying to define masculinity through likes, clicks, and shallow validation. And in the middle of it all, there you stand. A man who's seen life from every angle. A man who has bled, who has loved, who has failed, who has risen. A man whose silence speaks more than 1,000 influencers shouting into the void. And they need you. Even if they don't know it yet. Even if they don't say it. They need your example. They need your story. They need your stability in a world that's constantly shifting beneath their feet. You've walked roads that most of them haven't even seen on a map. You've had to make hard decisions. You felt the weight of responsibility on your shoulders and carried it without complaint. You've seen what real commitment looks like, not the kind you post about, but the kind you live out. Day in and day out. Through joy. Through pain. Through boredom. Through fear. That kind of consistency is rare now. And it's needed more than ever. You might not be the loudest voice in the room, but people watch how you move. How you respond under pressure. How you treat people when there's nothing to gain. How you carry yourself when no one's watching. And whether you realize it or not, that matters. There's a younger man somewhere paying attention. Looking for something real. Something unshakable. And your life is telling him what's possible. Even your failures have value. Especially your failures. Because they prove that falling isn't the end, and rising is always an option. Your story isn't polished, and that's what makes it powerful. Perfection isn't what people need. They need to see that you made mistakes and kept going. That you battled regrets and still show up. That you've lost people and learned how to grieve without becoming bitter. That you faced fear and didn't let it stop you. Maybe you don't feel as strong as you once did. But there's a different strength in you now. A deeper strength. The strength to listen when it's easier to talk. The strength to admit when you're wrong. The strength to walk away from nonsense. The strength to say no without explanation. That's not weakness. That's growth. And that kind of growth is rare. And desperately needed. There are men out there pretending to be unbreakable, while they're falling apart inside. There are men chasing approval, while they're starving for purpose. And there you are, holding the one thing that could change their lives, perspective. You've lived long enough to know that everything flashy fades. That real love is built, not found. That peace doesn't come from getting more, but from letting go of what doesn't matter. That legacy isn't about applause, it's about impact. You might not be chasing dreams like you used to, but that doesn't mean your life is standing still. Now you're in a position to pour into others. To guide. To mentor. To speak with clarity that only years can provide. And if you think no one is watching, think again. They are. Even if they don't say it. Even if they don't show it. They are watching how you show up. How you carry your years. How you lead with quiet authority. How you remain firm when everything around you bends. You are still needed in your family. In your community. In this culture. In this world. Because when men like you step back, the vacuum gets filled by noise, confusion, and chaos. But when you step forward, when you speak, when you live with intention, when you offer your presence, you bring weight. You bring calm. You bring truth. And that changes everything. So don't let the world convince you that your time has passed. Don't fade into the background. You are not done. You are not replaceable. You are not invisible. You are a pillar, a keeper of truth, a builder of men. You are still needed. There's a quiet lie that drifts through our culture, the idea that aging is a slow erosion, a slipping away of power, a descent into irrelevance. That as the candles increase on your birthday cake, your worth somehow decreases. But the truth is far more powerful, far more beautiful, and far more dangerous to those who thrive on keeping men small. Aging is not decline. Aging is refinement. You're not breaking down. You're sharpening. You're not fading out. You're cutting through. A younger man may have more stamina, but you've got precision. A younger man might rush forward, but you know when to hold steady. You've moved beyond the need to impress, beyond the need to be seen, and now, you live for what matters. That's not weakness. That's wisdom, and it's one of the rarest forms of strength. When you're young, life feels like a race. You run fast, you chase validation, you try to collect things, status, approval, trophies. But as you age, the race changes. You start to realize it's not about speed, it's about direction. Not about what you can gather, but about what you can let go of. Not about how loud you are, but how true you've become. Life has a way of sanding you down, not to break you, but to polish you. Think of the greatest materials in the world: iron, wood, leather, gold. None of them are their best in their raw form. They need time, heat, pressure, and friction. You are no different. The challenges, the heartbreaks, the disappointments, the victories, all of them have refined you. You're not the same man you were 10, 20, 30 years ago. You've been sculpted. The edges have been shaped. The instincts have been tuned. You've earned the right to sit in silence without anxiety, to speak with weight, to move with clarity. There is a dignity in aging that cannot be faked. You don't have to try so hard anymore because you've already proven what needed to be proven. You've lived. You've survived. You've walked through fire and didn't turn to ash. That shows in the way you walk, in the way you pause before speaking, in the way your presence calms a room instead of stirring it up. You've stopped trying to control every little thing, because you've learned that real control starts within. You understand now that not everything deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every opportunity deserves your attention. You've grown past the need to be everywhere, to do everything, to be everything for everyone. That's not decline. That's refinement. That's the kind of strength that doesn't need to shout, because it has nothing left to prove. And when people talk about aging like it's a curse, they miss the truth entirely. The truth is, youth is beautiful, but it's often blind. It's noisy. It's unstable. Aging gives you vision. It gives you depth. It gives you balance. You start to see through people and situations. You notice the little things, the shifts in tone, the inconsistencies, the quiet warning signs that others miss. And that makes you dangerous in the best way. Because you've stopped reacting, and you've started responding, with thought, with wisdom, with authority. Your soul gets more distilled over time. What remains isn't a smaller version of you, it's the real version of you. The man beneath the masks. The man who has faced his regrets, owned his flaws, forgiven himself, and grown stronger through it all. That man, the refined man, is who the world needs more of. And that man only comes with age. So don't mourn your changing body. Don't lament the gray in your beard or the lines around your eyes. Those are your badges. They mean you've lived. They mean you've learned. They mean you didn't quit. That should never be hidden or apologized for. That should be worn with pride, because each one of those signs is proof that you've become something more dangerous than a young man with fire. You've become a seasoned man with focus. The world has enough noise. Enough vanity. Enough surface-level flash. What it's starving for is depth. For presence. For calm. For clarity. And all of that lives in you now. So walk like the man you are. Speak with the weight your years have given you. Don't rush to fill silence, own it. Don't hide the signs of age, highlight them. Don't apologize for your slower pace, use it to lead others who are running in circles. This phase of life isn't a winding down. It's a sharpening up. You are not losing your edge, you're discovering your real one. You've burned off the distractions, the illusions, the desperate need for validation. What remains is pure. What remains is refined. What remains is a man who knows who he is, what he's about, and what truly matters. You've been tested. You've been pressed. And you've emerged stronger, not weaker. Sharper, not duller. More focused, not more confused. That is the power of refinement. And that is the truth of aging. You are not fading away, you are stepping into your most powerful form yet. There comes a point in every man's life where the spotlight fades, not because he's less important, but because he's no longer on the stage meant to perform. He's now standing just off to the side, in a position of greater power, of greater responsibility. This is where the mission shifts. No longer about building only for yourself, but building through others. That's when mentorship reveals itself. Not as an option, but as a calling. A mission. You weren't meant to walk this road alone and disappear quietly. Everything you've been through, the victories, the losses, the heartbreak, the triumphs, the crushing weight of regret, and the fire of redemption, it wasn't for nothing. It was for them. The younger men who are where you once were. Stuck. Confused. Hungry. Afraid to admit they don't have it all figured out. Men who are spinning their wheels, trying to decode life without a map, when you are the map. When you are the compass. When your voice could be the one thing that saves them from a lifetime of drifting. Mentorship isn't about having all the answers. It's about being willing to share the scars. Being willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with someone and say, I've been there. You don't have to go through this alone. In a culture that's obsessed with independence, with ego, with pretending like everything's okay, your willingness to be real becomes revolutionary. There is nothing more powerful than a man who has lived through the storm and reaches back into it, not to boast, but to pull another out. There's a reason the elder used to sit at the gate. There's a reason the young warrior went to him for counsel before going to war. Because a man who has survived knows something that books and podcasts and social media can't teach. He knows timing. He knows restraint. He knows pain that humbles, and grace that restores. And those are lessons that cannot be Googled. They must be passed down. Eye to eye. Heart to heart. And that is what mentorship is. It's not a lecture. It's a presence. It's not preaching from a podium, it's walking beside someone. It's watching for the quiet moments when a man is about to give up and saying just enough to keep him in the fight. It's showing up. Again and again. And it's understanding that your influence may be invisible at first. That you may never get applause for it. But mentorship isn't about credit. It's about impact. And impact lives longer than praise. Young men are desperate for guidance, even if their pride won't let them say it out loud. They are aching for direction in a world that gives them chaos. They are being raised by devices, fed lies through algorithms, taught that manhood is aggression or passivity, with nothing in between. And in the middle of that noise, your presence is clarity. Your words are light. Your example is a mirror that shows them who they could become, not by shouting at them to change, but by living out what change looks like. You know what it's like to fail. To lose things that mattered. To be misunderstood. To carry burdens without recognition. You've learned how to get back up. How to forgive yourself. How to build something slowly, brick by brick, when others wanted shortcuts. Those stories are gold. But gold kept hidden is wasted. When you withhold your wisdom, the world loses something irreplaceable. Mentorship is not about perfection. It's about transmission. Passing on strength, discipline, patience, and honor to men who are drowning in confusion. There is a responsibility that comes with experience. And when you ignore it, something in you begins to die. Because you weren't designed to keep it all to yourself. You were built to become a well, deep, life-giving, steady. And when someone comes thirsty, you don't lecture them about being dehydrated. You give them water. You give them truth. And you don't stop giving just because they didn't thank you. You keep giving because it's who you become. This is the mission. To stand as a bridge between generations. To be the man who didn't just survive, but returned, stronger, and offered a hand. It's in that role that your greatest legacy is born. Not in your accomplishments, but in the men you helped become who they were born to be. Men who now carry a piece of you in them, your courage, your lessons, your character. That ripple never ends. It passes through marriages, fatherhood, leadership, and beyond. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait until someone asks. Look around. Someone near you is watching. Someone is listening. Someone is on the verge of quitting or choosing a path that leads nowhere. And you could be the difference. You could be the man who stood firm when others stayed silent. You could be the reason another man finds his strength. Mentorship is not just a role, it is a mission. And that mission has your name on it. There's a quiet urgency that comes with time. At first, it whispers. Then, one day, it begins to roar. It's the voice that reminds you that your days are not endless. That the clock is ticking whether you choose to look at it or not. And the deeper truth beneath that voice is this: you are building a legacy right now, whether you mean to or not. The only question is, are you owning it, or are you letting it slip away? Legacy isn't what you leave behind someday far off in the future. It's what you are shaping every single day. With your actions. With your words. With your silence. With what you choose to fight for, and what you let slide. It lives in the people you influence, in the decisions you make when no one's watching, in how you carry yourself in moments of pressure and pain. And too many men wait. They wait for retirement, they wait for perfect timing, they wait until they feel worthy. But the truth is, legacy doesn't wait for you. you must rise to meet it. Owning your legacy doesn't mean having millions in the bank. It doesn't mean buildings named after you or headlines written about you. It means looking in the mirror and knowing that who you've become, right now, is a man your future self will respect. It means recognizing that your story still matters. That it's not too late. That you still have chapters to write. That regret does not have to be the final word. That you still have the power to shape what you leave behind, not just for your children, not just for your community, but for your soul. Every interaction you have is a brushstroke on the canvas of your legacy. The way you speak to your partner. The advice you give to a struggling friend. The strength you show when it would be easier to give up. The discipline you maintain when no one would blame you for quitting. That's your legacy in motion. And the sooner you realize that your life is not just about you, the clearer it becomes how much is at stake. Someone is watching you. Maybe your son. Maybe a younger man who looks up to you. Maybe a stranger who sees how you carry yourself when things get hard. You don't have to be famous to be influential. You just have to be consistent. Honest. Grounded. The world doesn't need more men who talk big and act small. It needs men who live their truth with integrity, even when it's costly. Even when it's lonely. Even when no one claps for it. Owning your legacy while you still can means taking responsibility for the life you built. It means acknowledging where you've fallen short, but not being defined by it. It means making amends if you need to, forgiving if you must, and pushing forward with purpose. It means refusing to coast. Refusing to numb out. Refusing to waste your final decades scrolling, complaining, or drifting. Your legacy deserves more than passivity. It deserves power. Precision. Passion. There's still time to create something that outlives you. A mindset. A memory. A standard. A way of being that makes others stronger just by being near you. But only if you stop deflecting. Only if you stop waiting for someone else to show you the way. Only if you stop pretending that you have nothing left to give. You do. Your wisdom. Your scars. Your perseverance. Your presence. Those are priceless gifts, and you must be brave enough to give them while you still can. The hard truth is this: none of us get to live forever. One day, the opportunity to influence, to speak, to change, will be gone. But today is not that day. And so, you must own this moment like it counts. Because it does. You must walk into every room with the awareness that how you show up will echo. You must speak with the knowledge that your words matter. You must love with the intensity of someone who understands that time is precious. Because it is. There will be no perfect day to begin living with purpose. No magical moment where everything aligns. You begin where you are. You start with what you have. And you take full ownership of the legacy you're building, even if no one else sees it yet. Because legacy isn't about applause. It's about alignment. Are you living in alignment with what truly matters? Are you becoming the man you said you'd be? Or are you hoping that time will one day make that happen for you? It won't. Time doesn't shape legacy. You do. And while you're still here, while you're still breathing, while your hands can still build, while your voice can still speak, you have a mission: to take the life you've been given and make it mean something. To leave behind more than a memory, to leave behind momentum. Not by chasing perfection, but by choosing purpose. Again and again. Day by day. You don't need permission to start. You just need the courage to own it. All of it. The pain, the lessons, the victories, the unfinished dreams. Own your legacy while you still can. Because one day, all that will remain of you is what you gave to others, how you stood when it counted, and the example you left behind when it mattered most. So, if you're an older man listening to this right now, hear me clearly: you are not done. You are not invisible. You are not irrelevant. You are a living archive of wisdom, a warrior tempered by time, a guide forged by fire. The world may not hand you a spotlight anymore, But that doesn't mean you don't have something to say. Your voice still matters. Your presence still carries weight. And your story, your legacy, is still being written. Don't sit quietly in the background of your own life. Stand up. Speak up. Step into the role that only you can play. Because younger men need your strength. The world needs your clarity. And you need to know, before your time runs out, that you lived like it mattered. Own your days. Pass on your truth. And walk with the fire of a man who knows his purpose never expires. Now go. There's still more life to live, and more men to lead.